Hey, welcome to the channel. We hope that you enjoy today's stories and check out the chapters on the video to see all the stories for today. But before we get into this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to get notified when we release a new video. So let's get into the video.
My fiance saw me, but it wasn't me. Okay, for context, I'm a complete skeptic when it comes to paranormal things, but what's been going on in my home has the hairs on the back of my neck standing up straight. A few nights ago, my fiance, 21-year-old female, decided to go outside for a smoke. I, a 21-year-old female, stayed in the living room to watch Modern Family. A few minutes after she left, she texted me and asked if I had popped up in the dining room window to scare her. The dining room window overlooks her smoke area, so it would have been in perfect view of from where she was sat. She saw me, my glasses, the way I had my hair tied back, smiling at her. She describes it as I was more so laughing as if she had caught me, and then I ducked down and never reappeared. Keep in mind, I was sitting in the living room, having no knowledge of this exchange. She came back in, and we talked about it, and I literally thought she was pranking me, bearing in mind she was close to tears because she thought that I was pranking her. A few days passed and nothing else happened. Until the other night. My fiancé went upstairs to go get changed into her pajama bottoms. I heard her steps as she went upstairs and again was left in the living room by myself. I then heard her steps coming down the stairs and watched her open the door, only to hear her come down the stairs and walk through the already open door once again. This obviously spooked me, but I'm a skeptic, so I just sort of pushed it aside after explaining to my fiancé what I saw. Panto last night. It was 3:47 a.m. and my fiancé was using the bathroom. The bathroom is upstairs adjacent to our bedroom. I heard the bathroom door open and then proceeded to hear her footsteps descend the stairs, only to quickly come back up like she was maybe checking to see if a light was left on downstairs or something. She texted me asking if her dad had come out of the bedroom, opposite ours. Her dad has incredibly loud footsteps, which are easy to identify. Obviously, I had thought they were her footsteps, and she's quite a skinny girl, so we both heard two different things. We have no idea what's happening, but it's making us feel incredibly uneasy about being here in general. We would go someplace else, but my fiancé is ill and I'm working on getting my visa, so her parents have kindly taken us in. What do we do? Are we experiencing doppelganger activity? How do we get rid of it?
So, some strange things are happening and I don't know what to do or whom to tell. So, bit of background info, I live in New Zealand, I'm in my early 20s and live alone for the most part. I also live in a brand new house, if that means anything. So basically, for just about as long as I can remember, I've been having strange experiences that I can't quite explain, mostly sudden intense feelings, usually of terror and panic. On the occasion, I have seen things to accompany the feelings, never anything particularly concise, but always a darker than black shape. A few years ago, while stopping to relive myself while driving through an extremely remote part of the country at night, I was hit by the feeling, only this time it was different. I heard a voice scream out, "Go!" At the time I was unsure if it was inside my head or from someone else, but regardless of that, I got back to my car as quick as I could and floored it, much to the distaste of my friend who was riding shotgun. As I drove off, I looked into the rearview mirror and saw what looked like figures standing in the road. I asked my friend if he had seen them and he said he hadn't been paying attention, and I was beginning to think it must have been a figment of my imagination until my friend asked why I had yelled at him to go. So at least some of it must have been real, because I definitely wasn't the one who had called out. Anyways, for a while after that, I didn't see anything else, although I still got the feelings semi-regularly. Fast forward to this past year, and I've moved to the other end of the country and lived by myself until this past week. I hadn't seen anything since I'd moved, and the sudden feelings seemed to be less frequent. Last weekend, however, I was lying in bed when suddenly got hit with feelings of terror. I looked up and saw something dark out of my room and into the living room. I immediately got up and checked one by one that all the doors and windows were locked, and they were, but when I got to the last window, however, there was absolute darkness. No light came from the street or from other houses around me like there should have been, and then, for barely a split second, there were what I can only describe as glowing red eyes staring back at me. It then all turned to normal, and the usual street lights were back. Obviously fairly shaken, I returned to my bed and was awake all night, but didn't see anything else. Just about every night since then I've seen a dark figure or sometimes a few of them moving throughout the house, although I haven't seen the red eyes again. For the most part, I haven't had any kind of interaction with them other than seeing them move around. They seem to be visible for no longer than 30 seconds and the feelings dissipate fairly quickly after that. They seem to be getting more defined as the week has progressed, with no discernible features but definitely human silhouettes. So tonight, I saw one in the corner of my room just standing watching me, this time for much longer than 30 seconds, but there was no fear or other feelings that accompanied this one. After probably an hour of it apparently coming and going, I was hit with the worst bout of sensations I've had in a year. Tears streaming down my face, and a gut-wrenching feeling of terror. For whatever reason, I had a feeling that I had to check the sliding door that leads outside of my room, and what I saw is still making my skin crawl. There were at least 5 figures with red eyes staring back at me. I still don't quite know what to make of it. They didn't move or try to harm me, but the feelings that I had were absolutely terrifying and the worst I've ever experienced, and they have been coming in waves since I saw them. Still haven't mustered the courage to look again. Sorry for the long post. I don't really know what I'm looking for out of this, but I don't know what to think about all this or whom to tell.
If you're enjoying today's video, smash that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more videos and interesting stories. Now let's get back to the stories of our lives. A story of the time I encountered a shapeshifter. Back in 2006, in my mid-20s, I was in a touring band. Anyone that has lived this life knows, much like truckers and the like, there are a lot of long drives that you learn shortcuts for. I grew up in a city right beside a native reservation, and my girlfriend at the time was from there. She is First Nations herself. One of my bandmates lived in the city on the other side of the reservation, and I had just dropped him off after a gig. When going between these two cities, you can drive up to a highway and go around the reserve, or take a shortcut and go through, which I did. This reservation had very few streetlights save for the main road, and the road I was going down was completely dark, except for wooden ballasts on the left side that had reflective tape on them. I had just entered the reservation when my headlights reflected off of something yellow. I assumed it was the aforementioned ballasts until the yellow thing moved. They were eyes. I slowed down and waited for what I assumed to be a dog, coyote, or, least likely, a wolf to cross the street, but it didn't. This creature had pitch black, bristly hair and was about the size of a dog. It walked quite slowly to the road, stared at me in the van with its reflective yellow eyes, bared its teeth, and then turned around and then quickly spun around and went back into the trees on the left side of the road. It took me a moment to realize that was not your usual canine. I immediately called my girlfriend. It was the early 2000s, and cell phones plus driving were commonplace, LOL, and described it. To my surprise, she answered almost immediately and said,
"Oh, probably a skinwalker."
What now?" She explained the legend of skinwalkers, shapeshifters that usually take the form of a coyote or wolf. Traditionally, they are medicine men and women who took, according to my ex, bad medicine. In some legends, they are also just straight-up witches who want to trick people. Look up common indigenous tricksters, if you're curious about that. Now, I will point out that there is a Mohawk word for skinwalkers, but I could not find it for the life of me. There is a Navajo version, but this happened nowhere near their reservation. This has stuck with me forever: the eyes, the teeth, the sense of being completely frozen. If you've enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and check out more videos from the channel.